What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here and haven't subscribed yet, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit the like, and I'd appreciate that. And we'll jump right in talking about the new pistol from Glock, the Glock 48. Now, a lot of the internet seems to be torn on whether or not the Glock 48 and Glock 43X are a good idea when the current market trend had been to make the guns as small and light as possible. And a lot of you are probably already thumbing away, getting ready to leave your comment telling me about how dumb the 48 is and the 43X. And I'm going to make the case of why this is actually better than the smaller pistols. I don't expect to necessarily change your mind on the issue, but I do expect to make you understand why it is a desirable pistol. First things first, the size of the pistol is roughly a Glock 19 size. There's going to be guys who can carry a Glock 19 every single day and say, I don't see the point of a 10-round pistol that's roughly the same size. And for those people, I can't argue with them. The Glock 19 is probably going to be a softer shooter and it gets 5 bonus rounds. But for people who need maximum concealability, the Glock 48 carries about the same as a Glock 43. Now, a lot of people are going to say blasphemy, there's no way it's a much bigger gun. And while it's true that the frame is about 1/10 of an inch thicker throughout the grip, the frame is roughly the same size on where the slide rails go in and roughly the same size where it goes into the pants. So the actual print on the waistline is roughly the same as a Glock 43 if you're using an inside the waistband belt ride holster, which most people who are going for deep concealment probably are. Now, the benefit of a longer gripped pistol is that for deploying the pistol and actually firing it, you can get a much better grip. It is more difficult to miss your grip on a compact size grip than it is on a subcompact 2-finger grip. Not to mention the leverage you're putting on the actual frame, not a base plate extension from your pinky and ring finger, really do help hold the muzzle down. This is a great pistol to shoot. It's much more comfortable than the shorter gripped ones because the longer frame actually spreads the force down across your palm, almost the full width of my palm. I've got pretty wide palms. The 48 does a real good job of spreading the force out straight down my palm. Now, the 43 and the P365 and other short gripped subcompacts are going to have a hot spot where they land in the base of your palm. That can be alleviated with the use of like a Hive magazine extension or the Terran Tacticals that uniformly extend the grip further out to be a full, basically compact sized grip. But at that point, you are in Glock 48 territory. So the pistol is easier to deploy and it has better comfort when firing. Now, the 48 is going to be more sporty in the recoil department than the Glock 19, which a lot of people are going to compare it to, because the Glock 19 has the benefit of a thicker frame and a more massive slide. The skinnier, lighter slide on the 48 is going to recoil more athletically, and it's going to have more perceived recoil as a result. But it is a very, very controllable pistol, as we'll get into later. So based on the grip alone, we're talking about pistols that are ultimately the same as far as how they carry on the belt. And the 48 or 43X grip is superior to the shorter gripped pistols to come out of a belt ride holster. Now, the 48 is going to lose points if you're trying to pocket carry or off body carry, but it's not really designed around that. But we all know with pistols this size, we're talking about a compromise. Now, a popular cliche on the internet is it shoots like a much larger gun. That's actually true in the case of the Glock 48. It is almost like shooting a Glock 19, but it's not quite there. So we've touched on two pieces there. The longer grip provides a longer handle to draw from and more surface area on the front strap to get all your fingers on board to control the pistol and recoil. And now finally, probably the most important thing, as we know, these are all compromise type guns because you're compromising usability for concealability in many cases. But in this case, you're getting a full 4-inch sight radius. It's actually a little bit longer than a 4-inch. And why sight radius is important is making hits on target. Now, I've also released a video on the sight displacement drill. Check out that video. You can see the importance of sight radius and how it translates to hits on targets at 5 yards and 15 yards. In a nutshell, the more space between the rear of your rear sight and your front sight is going to be a more forgiving sight picture when the sights are misaligned. If these are defensive guns, there's a good chance they're going to be used when the sights are misaligned. So you're more likely to get satisfactory hits with a longer sight radius pistol, and this has about 0.6 inches, or roughly, not quite, the difference between a Glock 34 and a Glock 17. And additionally, all 9mm rounds are generally optimized around a 4-inch barrel length. All of the load data, if you go to like hodgdonreloading.com, is based around a 4-inch barrel. So it's going to get full velocity, and as you know, hollow points need velocity to perform as they are advertised. So you're more likely to get good penetration and good hollow point performance from a longer barrel. So what that's leaving us with is a pistol that is easier to draw, easier to shoot, conceals just the same, and is about 2 ounces heavier than the Glock 43 with no magazine or rounds. So that's a quick defense of the size of the pistol. I have to say, if you've followed any of my preliminary videos on this, I am a big fan of the 48. It is legitimately fun to shoot. The ergonomics are actually quite good. It feels good in hand. It's got a nice lip right there that your pinky kind of grabs onto that helps you hold the gun flat when you're shooting fast. It's very accurate, other than the terrible sights that come on it. I'm about to try out these Ameriglows for the 43 to see if they're going to hit. We'll see how that goes. The pistol is ergonomic, and as I mentioned in my other videos, the grip texture is kind of lacking. With your hands on the pistol, all of the controls are easy to get to. You can reach the mag release, you can reach the trigger no problem, you can get plenty of finger on the trigger. I think shooters of all size hands should be able to find a home on the 48 or 43X. Building a support hand, getting it on there, there's plenty of space for it, but again, there's not much traction where you want to put in a lot of good traction on a good modern handgun grip. Got a good video on that as well that you should check out on recoil management and you. Now, as far as the trigger, the actual trigger group is the same as the 43X. It's going to be kind of a heavy resistance in the take up, and then it hits a wall, and then you kind of squish through it just like every other Glock trigger, and about a 6 to 6.5 pound trigger brake with a good tactile audible reset on a serrated face trigger. I have to say, on a extended range session, I was starting to feel the serrations of the trigger, and it's not my favorite. I'd look at replacing it with like a smooth trigger shoe, but for Glock to import these small pistols, they have to put the serrated triggers on there, so I am told. It has forward cocking serrations, which are used for cocking and manipulating the pistol. You can go back here, but it's, a lot of times it's easier to just grab the front of the gun and run the action. If you've never tried it before, maybe give it a shot. It's not a bad thing to do. The slide release is usable. It's pretty flush to the frame, but it works like you would expect it to. And the slide finish is more in line with a Gen 4 style pistol and not a Gen 5. It's not the NDLC coating or whatever it was that makes the Gen 5 so slippery, but it seems pretty good. And a downside to it is the thing it gets dirty, and we'll get into that some more. One thing that I think is kind of cool about the Glock pistol is it doesn't have a rail. A pistol this size doesn't need a rail. If you're a kind of guy who wants to hang a light or a laser off a rail of his pistol, there are accessories that were built around the 43 that you can use, but also, what's the point? Why would you not just carry a Glock 19 at that point? If you want to carry a light on your gun, I really think a 19 is a good option. I prefer the short dust cover. It looks cool. It's almost reminiscent of like a 1911, which I think is cool, and it actually is a better looking pistol design than the traditional blocky Glock. As far as reliability is concerned, I have not cleaned this. I have not oiled it. I just had the orange grease that Glock leaves in the pistols, took it to the range and shot it, and it worked just as you'd expect it to work. So the Glock perfection, the reliability that they're storied for, is there, just as you would hope and expect. Now, the difference between the 43 and the 48 and 43X is going to be in the magazines. I'm sure everybody's going to talk about it, but the magazines are fatter. So it's like you when you went to college and you when you came out of college. So you got that going on, and that's how they get their 10 rounds. Now, the actual size of the magazine is roughly the same size as a .43 magazine with a +2 extension as far as length is concerned, but you're getting 2 extra rounds. So rather than an 8-round capacity, you're getting a 10-round. So that extra width is a little bit nice. Now, as far as accuracy is concerned, the pistol is very accurate. Rather than just doing what I normally do, which is shoot my own reloads, I shot my own reloads and a bunch of trash that you can buy from Walmart, including Winchester White Box 115, Remington UMC in both 115 and 124. Shot some HST 147s, some Ruger ARX, and the Critical Duty, and tested them all for accuracy. As far as accuracy was concerned, the gun with the FMJ is grouped acceptably at about 10 yards. You can see this bullseye here. This is, I believe, the UMC 115s, which is good enough. Started testing the hollow points. The Critical Duty grouped very well at about 15 yards. You can see this group here. The sights were off center in the dovetail when I received the pistol. I was able to drift them a little bit, but I'm going to ultimately change the sights and use my sight pusher to center up the sights perfectly. So the left is the sights, it's not my finger, which is an excuse for Glock shooters. As far as the ARX is concerned, the timing of the high velocity stuff was just something I wasn't used to, and I wasn't able to print good groups with it. At 7 yards, the groups were acceptable, but once you stretched it out past that, it really started to fall off. The HST actually grouped pretty well as well. You can see here there's a little low and left, but I think that's more just how the sights are for that particular loader. I could potentially be holding under the target since the stock Glock sights cover up a lot of the target, so I probably was holding it low, but that is pretty close to where I was aiming. But more importantly, the practical accuracy of the pistol is very, very high. If you look at these were double taps, you can see how I shot the double taps here, but this was at 7 yards, rapidly pulling the trigger near as fast as I could pull it. These are probably .25 splits, but I was able to hold it very still. I wasn't trying for accuracy, just kind of center of the target, and that's what I got. So that's something certainly to be pleased with, and it's a testament to the longer grip and longer sight radius of the gun. As far as holsters are concerned, not everyone's going to have a Glock 48 holster right out of the gate. If you have one of the longer bodied Glock 43 holsters like this Harry's holster, I've had this since about November, got it from my Glock 43. It has an elongated body that kept the grip from kind of turning out over my belt. It kind of balances the gun better. And so the 48 fits in it like a glove, like it was made for it. It's actually fantastic. I know that Dark Star Gear Hitchhiker also does this. Harry is even offering an outside the waistband pancake style holster as well. This is fantastic. I mean, this has got just amazing retention. The mold is perfect. So that's an option for holsters for you. harrysholsters.com. You can use my discount code, The Humble Marksman, and save 10%. So you can check those out. This is configurable for appendix inside the waistband or strong side, small back, wherever you care to put it. This is a very flexible and adaptable holster shell. But it's not all upside on the Glock 48. There are some issues with it. The slide finish we'll talk about, and another weird issue with the ejection port. Now, one drawback of the Silver Slide is it shows carbon fouling a lot. With just one range session, you could really see the carbon all over the pistol. And this doesn't just wipe off, unfortunately, so I'm gonna have to actually get solvent and keep the gun clean because I don't wanna stick something that's visibly dirty in my pants like this. But good news, SHOT Show next year, I'm sure Glock is going to release slides in different colors for the 43X and 48, so hooray! And as I mentioned in my other video, you can swap the slide from the 43 onto the 48 frame and basically have a Glock 43X. Now, you can also do the reverse and put the Glock 48 slide on the 43 frame, but that's not anything I think anybody really wants, but you can do it and have your very own Glock 43 XL. Another thing that is weird about the Glock 48, and I'm sure the 43X is probably the same, is trying to get the live round to come out of the pistol when you're unloading it from hollow points and putting in like target rounds at the range is very difficult. It doesn't want to go all the way back and eject. Maybe the ejection port is a little bit shorter. The ejection pattern when it actually shooting is just fine, but getting that live round out can be a little bit problematic. It's not that big a deal, it's just kind of weird, so be aware of that when you are trying to unload it. So there you have it, guys. Like I said, these skinny compact pistols are meant for concealment and it's all about compromise, but I think the Glock 48 is really on to something. It's much less of a compromise and it's easier to shoot than all of its short grip, short barreled counterparts. And I can't stress that enough. If you have skill with larger guns, it's easier to realize that skill on this Glock 48 than its shorter barreled counterpart. And ultimately, delivering accurate fire at a good speed is the name of the game. But I appreciate you guys watching. Please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit the thumbs up, and I'll catch you on the next one.